Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. No hokum or messages or information or news today, guys. We're going to get straight into the action. It's going to be a custom 1v1. It's going to be another Engie mod game, because I know you're all super excited about this now, just as I am. You're going to be even more excited when you realize who we got playing. I think I can hear them arriving planetside now, so let's head on over to the game zone, which is going to be Point of Reach, and see how these guys are going to get on. So, Point of Reach, we'll go into the map in just a minute. Let's take a look at the players and their starting locales. Up here at the top, in his new, I'd say new customary color, it looks like a regal purple Zock. He's going his classic Cybrin, and he's opening first land, going to get that adjacency bonus, and he's going to shove a power gen right next to that mechs as well. That will also assist in reducing the power costs of upgrading it subsequently to T2 and T3 should he keep it there. And his opponent down here in his customary teal but not so customary Cybrin. At least Brainfart says that he's been playing Cybrin more recently. I didn't realize it. I thought he was still true and loyal to the Seraphim Invaders, but apparently not. He is switched up Cybrin because apparently it's very easy to play and win now with this game with these cheating symbionts and all of their new balance changes. No, I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean. They're now more fun to play, and he fancies a bit of a challenge by switching up races, so that's what he's decided to do. And he's also gone first land and is being very sneaky about what he's doing next. Going to go down there and grab that hydrocarbon. Yeah, so no secondary factory for us to see as yet. Find out what he's doing. Point of Reach, to play on this map, I hate it. I'm using the hate as the word hate in its very literal sense. I can't stand playing on this map, but I do love to watch games being played on this map. It's very, it's a tricky map, and it's not least because of all of these different islands, but on the islands you've got very unusual height maps all over the place, so it's not just a simple case of grab your cruisers and go and start bombarding. There's all kinds of different land formations that will block your stuff, meaning you can only really attack from certain directions, and it does make for interesting strategy, of course, because you've got to think about the directions that your opponent's going to be coming from and act accordingly. But on the flip side, of course, you've got these long stretches of beach, which means amphibious units do very well. And that might well be a feature of this one. So both these guys going Cybrin. It's going to be a Cybrin mirror matchup, and it's going to be awfully fun. Of course, expect to see nice things from Zock. He is the principal of Engie mod these days. No one seems to play more Engie mod than he. And, but then at the same time, of course, he's facing off against Luzon, reigning Impa Cup champion, Rise of the Immortals trophy finalist, one of the greatest people ever to, or players ever to play the game, it has to be said. Anyway, we're starting to see the first few aggressive units coming out onto the game board. A couple of bombers out in front, a couple of scouts for Zock, a couple of bombers behind, and also a drop over here to the left-hand side of the map. Luzon going for some early expansion. It's going to be what looks like a couple of engineers at first. He's also moving on to another location. Is he getting really bold? Yes, he is. He's actually going to try and make a grab for this island right at the top left. We're also going to get a little bit of interaction here between a bomber and Luzon's ACU, or at least he's going to fly over the top of it, decide not to go after it. A couple of bombers in Luzon's base as well. He's going to get on the harassing game. We potentially see an engineer kill or two. There's certainly some clumped up engineers. I hear the sounds of bombs being dropped, and drops short. A couple of Engies lucky to escape with their life on that pass, but that bomb is still in the air. Meanwhile, this one over on the left-hand side does manage to snag an engineer kill. He's doing very nicely indeed. Coming in for a second pass. Luzon's got much better things to do apparently than protect his engineers. They both die, having taken 2 bombs, not just the customary one. Finally, though, got a couple of interceptors out, but another 2 engineers going down as well from this bomber here. Certainly paying for itself. 3 Engie kills, but I don't think he's going to get another pass or anything. Those interceptors defending that main base will home in on him and end his life. Up here at the top left, we can see Luzon's little drop here. He's got a couple of land factories going down. A real click and spam drag there, so we expect lots of Cybrin units on the ground for him. He's going to be ahead of the game on Zock, who's getting his ACU across to the island as we speak. He's going to get a factory there. He's got it queued up. He's getting a couple of engineers in as well. from a transport drop. No, he's not. He's also making a play for the far left island, but he's going to be a little bit late to the party. All of the booze is gone. That record's stuck on loop. It's just that one bloke, Barry, in the corner that no one can get rid of. But anyway, in it comes. It's going to have a real hard time trying to shoo away any of those units. They're well entrenched. We've got a PD going down, nearly completed. 2 land factories already in place. And the question is, what, if anything, are they going to do? They take a couple of rounds. That look like a Sky Slammer on ground fire there initially. That transport's probably not going to make it home either. It's got a interceptor, or an interceptor latched onto it. Over here on the right-hand side, Zock has got one lonely engineer. Oh, it's a lonely business being an engineer, trying to take this island all by himself. He's not going to make it. He was just about to emerge onto that very plush-looking beach, and instead took a few bombs to the face. So that's the end of his little adventure called life. First few units for Luzon in the shape of Mantis on this island, moving forward, going straight after the exposed outlying mexes on this little peninsula here. Could do a lot worse than to take out that T1 radar as well. How does all of this look from Zock's location? You can see all of the units on the ground. He's now going to see all of this that suddenly popped up on should be rightfully his island. He's going to engage with his ACU, but of course running headfirst into an auto gun is pretty detrimental to your health, so he's going to back up slightly down to around 7,200 HP. He's going to strut off back towards the edge of the island, but on his way he's definitely going to take the time to shove up a T1 PD. Wants to hamper any more expansion from Luzon's forces on this mini island further to the center at least. Another little drop happening over on the right hand side for Luzon. He's picking up these little outlying regions, and we can see on the face of it, Luzon seems to be ahead in the mass game, ever so slightly. It fluctuates, of course. I have put a forum post up actually asking Zep to ignore reclaim in this little counter, so we can just see what people are getting in from mexes and power gens. Would be ever so nice, but we shall just have to see. Purely selfish from a caster's perspective, will make my life a little bit easier. But we've got another little drop coming in here from Zock, a skyhook. It's hard to see what's on that with this purple color. I think that might be potentially combat units. Probably sensible to have a few engineers in there so we can make a guess of it. But, we've got Zock really engaging things quite heavily with his ACU, trying to deal with these small groups of low-order span coming out of these factories here on this top left island. Zock's ACU is down to 4,200 or 300 HP, so he hasn't got too many hit points to play with. Zock was also trying to get a little naval manufacturing facility up and running on the left-hand side, but a Trident has discovered it from Luzon. He's going to spend some time taking that down. Another drop coming in now from Zock. Was this the same one? It might well have been. One engineer, 2 Mantis, a Mole, and a Medusa. Lovely unit combinations there. Can grab all 3 of those mexes, I'm pretty sure. Potentially snag a few mass per tick there for Zock. I assume that's why the engineer's there. But that naval factory has been paused. Zock's given up on it. There's no way or point in defending it. Going to get anywhere there. Get anywhere near doing that there. And finally, more Tridents, or a Trident and a Sliver, turn up, and that's going to be the end of that. Zock's still fighting very hard though on this top left island, and he's actually got an upgrade going on which he's currently paused, sitting in this little bay area down here. He's probably going to rectify his eco situation first. You can see he's having real power problems, so that's what needs to be his primary focus for the moment. He's got a hell of a lot of T1 P-gens, but yeah, power obviously something he needs to rectify, and once he's finished rectifying that, he can take that off pause, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see if that's a gun upgrade, or, well, could potentially be T2 engineering suite. Either way, it's going to give him a bunch of HP and some tools to finally grab control of this top island, because in terms of map control, for the moment, Luzon definitely ahead, and also, well, is he ahead on eco? What's going on in the reclaim situation? It's kind of hard to tell. Of course, Zock having power issues. We'll take another look in that just a second. Zock having a little mini victory though down here on this side island. He's grabbed these mexes. Tridents turn up. He won't hold on to them for very long. He's got one Medusa there that's going to return a little bit of fire, but Not going to get anything done really to any great way, shape or form. Few engineers here from Luzon. That looks like a drop that's landed right smack bang in the middle of Zock's forces. Well, a lot of interceptors out now for Zock as well. It's kind of hard to see who's got air control at the moment. I'm leaning towards Zock. Potentially 50-50. I suppose the word control is a little bit misleading for the moment. A little group of 3 slivers and 3 tridents down there for Zock. The frigates and submarines, T1 accordingly. She's chasing a few of Luzon's naval units around the edge of this island. Luzon's going to back away with those. No point in forcing a bad position, he thinks. And finally, Luzon's managed to shoo Zock off this little island here with the help of just a couple of tridents. Going to get one of his own engineers back in place to grab those mexes. Zock, for the moment, definitely ahead en masse. That's quite unusual to see that. Luzon is generally considered one of the finer eco-whores in the game. It's why he is so good and why he has done so well in the tournaments that he's played in. Zock continuing to apply pressure on this top island. I think with the help of his navy here, he's going to be able to finish this off. And Luzon, having paused these factories, it's fair to say he's giving up on this position. There's no point in trying to hold on to a position like this, expending resources when it's ultimately doomed. It's done its work. It's denied mass from Zock in the early game. It's a little bit of aggression. And if you hold on to something longer than you need to and force a bad position and plow resources in something that you can't possibly hold on to, life isn't going to go well for you. A little drop here from Luzon on this main island, but whoa, a couple of renegades turn up. That means we've got T2 air on the scene for Zock. There's his HQ. Got a couple of other air factories kicking about as well, so it'd be nice and easy for him. Of course, this is Engie mod to upgrade those, and pretty cost effective as well. Get some more T2 air on the scene, but renegades now in play in quite a big way. Looks to be about 5 or 6 of them on the field for the moment, coupled with a few jesters, so he's got some decent air-to-ground power in the form of gunships. A little bit of a engagement happening air-to-sea as those scout planes head over from Zock. Got a few naval units in the middle for Luzon, just kind of scouting around the central section. Looks like he needs to team up a little bit more. There could potentially be a naval battle brewing. And finally, this position is yielded to Zock 15 minutes into the game, so it was a nice little maneuver there from Luzon, helping to slow up Zock's progression, but quite a large engagement happening air-wise down here. Look at all those renegades and jesters, very nasty indeed. This whole island suddenly in jeopardy for Luzon, who spammed up quite a few inties. And Zock leading with the renegades. I don't think it's a particularly good idea. I think Luzon has the advantage in terms of inti numeracy. Let's see who has the better micro, who's going to come out on top. I think it's going to be Luzon, hands down. That means he's going to lose all these renegades. Zock knows it. He's leaving them in the mix. Going to go after the static anti-air defenses, take down as many as he can before they all go pop. If I were you, Zock, I'd pull those back. Turn back immediately. And he promptly does so, pulling it back into the middle, but yet more renegades on the field. So Zock really rolling with his eco, not too disturbed by that little loss there. We've got a few of these renegades heading west over to this left-hand island. Having just conquered this top island, Zock now looking to make some more ground on the western edge of the map. And Zock committing, in fact, both players committing to the air spam in pretty serious way. Lots of inties on the field for both these guys. Almost impossible to see who's going to come out on top just yet. Meanwhile, these T1 subs, these slivers for Zock, forcing back Luzon's navy. Really wants to score a kill on this siren here, this cruiser. That will be its target of opportunity there. They go for, they're ignoring the other opposing slivers from Luzon. Luzon trying everything he can to save that cruiser, but it's not going to happen. And Luzon going pretty hardcore navy. We've got the HQ out in front, another already upgraded T2 factory, 2 more that could be spammed up quickly, but actually he's behind. That's quite interesting. Zock has got 3 T2 factories, one of which of course the HQ, and 2 more upgrading, so Zock really going for Navy in quite a serious fashion. And now we're looking at a much more even spread of the map. We've got a 50-50 scene of map control here between these 2 players, both controlling virtually half of the map. The only variable is who has more of the center in terms of redundant sea territory. There's no mexes or anything in enemy control. There are a few redundant mexes or mexes that haven't been claimed by Luzon. We've got a small Skyline in here, we've got a little one here. They've been picked off, I think, by these little air raids from Zock. Luzon withdrawing those interceptors back to his main island. We've also got a few torp bombers on the scene, so we're starting to see some T2 air finally from Luzon. And an attempt at some kind of drop heading up the right-hand side from Luzon, but it's been spotted by Zock, who's promptly sent a whole bunch of interceptors to pop that out of the sky. Down it goes. Very nicely handled indeed. Decent attention. And now a slight lull in activity compared to what we've seen previously as these 2 players kind of gather their thoughts and work out where they're going next. 2 T2 air factories in Zock's main base now. But Luzon ahead on eco and floating a huge amount of mass at the same time. Only just ahead, but ahead nonetheless. And Zock needs to watch out for that. As I said before, Luzon so very good at the whole eco thing. Now it looks like we've got a pretty significant air fight about to kick off, accompanied with a few cormorants, the Cybran T2 torp bombers in the mix for Luzon. That's going to put extra pressure on Zock's navy. Got a few Salem class destroyers in there, which is good for Luzon because there are some Barracudas on the scene as well for Zock. The T2 subs in the water. And Luzon's bringing up a Flood XR with him. That's the T3 sonar platform for Cybran. I don't know why he needs to bring it quite that far forward. That might potentially be a little bit of a mistake. Personally, I would keep that back here. You can see the range on that puppy. That's the Omni, I guess, but look at the outer lying range, how much it gives you. Real need to get it up there. I guess he's concerned about mermaids. The counterintelligence boats wants to thwart that, but he's probably just going to lose that sonar platform as it comes right into the middle. All of these tridents focus fire. Now this Salem going down soon after. Another one coming in at the side, and now we've got a whole bunch of renegades coming in for Zock. Luzon realizes there's no way he can lose that, no way he can win that. Turns tail to run away, but look how many interceptors in the sky for Zock over the top of this naval battle. Over the top, all of those cormorants are going to drop out of the sky. There they go, and just look at the amount of reclaimable mass in terms of sea wrecks on this ocean floor. Plenty of stuff for these guys to be getting on with if they could possibly get any engineers out in the field. We've got a little bit of an amphibious Wagner attack here over on the left-hand side for Zock. And that has completely dismantled that base on this side island, and this is what's so difficult about this game and what other people in RTSs don't understand. Trying to keep your attention on running an economy as complex as SOPCON has, while at the same time focusing on engagements happening all over a significantly larger map than you would have in any other RTS, really. Lone T2 ground unit there for Luzon trying to do something. This was actually the HQ, and that's why I would always like to keep my HQ safe. Pros really do play it risky with this Engie mod. I don't know whether they, I said this in a previous cast, whether they're just so used to bringing their most far forward factory up to T2 first, because it gets you T2 units into the fight quicker onto the front line, or whether they just they still like to play it like that, even though there's now this detrimental issue of losing that and losing all access to T2 ground tech, despite even possibly having other upgraded T2 factories. To be fair, I don't see any T2. Oh, I tell a lie. There's a T2 land factory down here, so if we click on it, you see exactly what I mean. No, you won't, because he's already done it. Luzon way ahead of the game. Actually, no, he's not. Actually, that's a good point. He's literally just got access to the T2 engineers. He's got no units to produce off that whatsoever. So Luzon Slightly hampered by that, but not looking too peaky at all, and still looking reasonably good on mass, not too far behind Zock, despite the fact that he really has lost control of this, the main starting location on the left-hand side, the left-hand side island. He's got a few renegades out as well, which could potentially help to halt or hinder Zock's progression on the left-hand side of the map. All of Zock's air currently focused on the right-hand side. The large raiding force in the Navy scene for Luzon as well, coming up around the right-hand side of the island. A single T2 factory, not the HQ there for Zock. Underheads and cruisers focusing in on it. A bunch of renegades for Zock's flying right over the top of the cruiser. They're going to primary that cruiser. The question is how many renegades they're going to lose in the process. Quite a few, but he's got enough there to finish the job. Those Tridents going to go down soon after. That could potentially save that T2 factory. Indeed it has. The Mermaid's the last thing to go down. All that's left is a bunch of slivers, of course. No re-emerge usage on those. No deck gun like the Tiger Shark. Have to even put out woeful damage at ground targets. They just have to sit there and wait patiently for units that can get things done. But look at the amount of Barracudas that Zock's got in the middle. Yes, there are some Salem destroyers, but so many T2 subs, coupled with a whole bunch of Tridents to soak up that DPS. Down goes one Salem, the next one not going to be long after it. Zock changed his mind, going to focus on that cruiser, bag that kill first, but a whole bunch of renegades coming in, going to focus down that cruiser. Tons of interceptors in that wonderful guarding formation that they do. Flying out, just keeping that safe as those renegades just swat those last two C units, and Zock looking deadly on the ground, on the in the air. Sorry, suddenly in this game as we pass the 27-minute mark. But Luzon still looking comfortable on mass, despite being on basically two islands. Large engagement in the air. Renegades going to town on these exposed mass points on the peninsula for Luzon. That's 4 T2 mass points that he's probably going to lose. A bunch of inties come in from Luzon, focusing on those renegades, but there's so many defending interceptors from Zock. He's not going to get any traction there at all. We have got a Siren in play that's going to give him some really nice anti-air. How's he doing on flak in the base? Not brilliant. He has got a Myrmidon though, a SAM launcher, and that's shielded by a reinforced shield gen. Eventually that buckles. Of course, the SAM down to 7,700 HP from what it was before the patch, but it's considerably higher. But it still has enough to finish off all those renegades. Zock's moved into the bay with a whole bunch of Wagners and T1 and T2 Navy, but didn't have enough units to get the job completed. Luzon manages to discourage him from pushing any further. And now we've got ASFs in the sky for Luzon. So we've got a tech upgrade there, and that will completely change the game on the face of it. And we've also got a strap bomber coming in over the top. Beautiful strap bomber from Luzon. So wonderful tech upgrade here, completely turning the game on its head. Zock now finds himself out-teched in the air. He's got himself up to a T3 air factory, but he's killing himself trying to get the ASFs out. Look at that power deficit he's running. He's trying to get a T3 ion reactor in place. Finally that's online and he'll be able to start producing ASFs. He is behind the curve on the ASF front for the moment. Huge wave of scout planes coming down through the central southern island for Zock, checking out Luzon's base. Wants to be alerted to any potential surprises. Luzon's comms over here on the right island, so he has migrated. Busy getting as many of these mechs upgrades as he can. He's now got a T3 mechs in play here. So still running pretty comfortably. What are we looking at here? So 250 odd mass for Luzon and 182 for Zock. So Luzon just tearing ahead in the eco game, and it's so strange when you look at the map control that Zock's got. to think that Luzon is doing that much better on eco, but he is the eco whore. There is no two ways about it. Someone needs to name a brothel after him, and it needs to happen immediately. In comes Strap Bomber from Luzon, finally finishing off that T2 factory. Not an HQ, of course, as we saw earlier. Now we're getting a little air engagement. So many inties, though, on the field. A handful of ASFs for Luzon. Not going to win major engagements, I don't think. He's going to have to stick to the periphery of the fight, kind of pick units off as best he can. I'm going to get another little naval engagement here. Luzon heavy on the Salem, Zock heavy on the Barracuda. Luzon's destroyers pretty heavily crippled from previous engagements. Most of them going down, just 2 left as they run for cover, shedding hit points in their wake. Barracuda's going to get the better of this one, certainly. Just 1 left, down he goes. Zock once again victorious on the naval front. He's running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 T2 naval factories in this little manufacturing facility up here. Very impressive indeed. And another little raid from Wagner's over here on this little side island from Zock. Very nicely done. Luzon still just operating off these 4 base T2 naval factories. Hasn't expanded anywhere else, at least not for the moment. Luzon literally just focusing eco, eco, eco. That's all he's doing all day. And if he can carry this game on in this fashion, it's not going to matter that he's been confined to these 2 southern islands. He will still manage to outlast Zock and get ahead of him. As long as he can get production up to match that eco to spend the mass that he must have pouring in. I say pouring in, it's like, nah, he's spending it fine. He's completely out of mass. Just working getting that last core mechs on this southeastern starting locale. If it was obviously a larger map with more players, had more players involved in it, but lots of ASFs now in the sky for Zock, circling overhead over this main naval facility. Yet more naval factories going down for Zock, so Zock still sticking to the Navy play in a big way. Zock going for a little bit of a wander there. Hello, what's going on here? Getting picked up by a dragonfly. And it looked like he had personal stealth there, so this could be interesting. Got a personal stealth commander from Zock. He's moving it over to this side island. What's he picking up? He's picking up a deceiver, which is quite interesting. Well, I don't know. I guess no, it's personal stealth, isn't it? So the commander obviously doesn't affect the transport. That's why he needs to collect a deceiver, which means Zock is going for something very interesting indeed. We can see where that transport is headed. It's so hard because the color differential on point of reach is so very light and slight. But he's coming right down the edge of the map. And look at this. Final resting place is going to be here, right at the bottom of the map, south of Luzon's base. What's Luzon's radar like? Take a look at his intel. So Omni, what's he got? Nothing. He's got some basic personal Omni around the commander, obviously, but nothing in his main base as yet. So round comes Zock, still yet to be spotted. It's incredibly risky play, this. Just one plane or boat drifting past any part of this could yield a visual on that. And all Luzon has to do to win the game is dispatch a small squadron of ASFs, and that would be game. But Luzon hasn't noticed it, to his detriment. Zock plonked off into the water. That deceiver obviously goes pop as soon as it hits the water, but it's done its job. It's kept it alive. The question is, can he see that transport? No, so he doesn't have radar coverage down here at all. So that won't alert Luzon to anything going on straight down here. And it's going to be a Monkey Lord rush right down here at the bottom of the map. Zock, you sneaky git. And that could be game right there. This could be the game-winning maneuver. Be so easy for a Monkey Lord just to go tearing up through this main base here. We've got a bug on the way as well, and it's actually nearly done for Luzon. So this game really heating up as we pass the 36-minute mark and head headlong into the experimental phase. Trouble is, of course, I'm pretty certain that Luzon doesn't have any great advantage in the air. It's a lot of ASFs, I guess. But there's so many Inties, T1 Inties on the field for Zock. Luzon's going to have to be very careful about how he deploys this bug. He has queued up another one, so he's going to sit in this shield, building bugs with his comm and a little bit of extra build capacity on this side island. Luzon moves those ASFs over to the right-hand side, and he's discovered these Wagners as they come on shore on this mini island. He's got Renegades ready to deal with them. So yes, he's lost a couple of mass points, but look, I mean, he's 100 mass ahead of Zock in terms of eco, despite being on a third of the map in comparison. And now that bug is away. ASS not affording it great protection. An awful lot of hit points fall off that in just one pass. And now it's the Interceptor's turn to come in and fire a volley. They're in behind the bug. Fast firing continuous fire. And that's a real shame. Bug goes down. Luzon circling overhead with his ASFs. He's going to win an air victory on the field. Not that many ASFs left in this group of air units for Zock. And Interceptors obviously very vulnerable indeed. Zock going to pull those home, I think. So that's potentially given Luzon convincing air control, but it has wasted a bug in the process. There is another one on the way, between a quarter and a third done. But how's the Monkey Lord coming along? 3/4 done, about to turn green at 75%. There it goes. And that could be real problems. How's Luzon looking? Still no idea about what's going on at all. Spy planes out in certain locales could really do with having a little bit of a scout. And now there is an Omni in place on that main island. You can see that that is the transport that brought Zock down. Luzon could be curious as to what that is, but that's the range of the core Omni that's on his main island. He's not going to get any read on that Monkey Lord until it strays inside that or some other such Omni. Renegades out in the middle for Luzon, still picking off occasional mass points here and there from Zock, grabbing the odd one as best he can, but I think that's going to be the end of that little raiding sortie from those Renegades as they promptly get popped by some defending ASFs. Whole group though of ASFs coming in from Luzon now, going after those assaulting ASFs from Zock that have been harassing those gunships. Luzon looking potentially like he could make a fresh engagement, a fresh attack on that island, but the Monkey Lord is online and another one promptly being built. Surprised Zock hasn't sent that immediately out there. Maybe he's just doing other things. I'm sure we'll see that on the move soon. But now Zock engaging in the middle. So many Barracudas and Luzon having to retreat once again. Quite surprised by the amount of cruisers that Luzon has gone for in this. Excellent against their air forces, of course, but should have plowed a little bit more into Salem's. I've done a little bit better in the sea game over the course, but of course he's doing just fine now. In terms of mass, he's absolutely trampling Zock. Another bug nearly done. How's he doing and stuff? So you can see he's using up every ounce of that mass. And the longer this game goes on, of course, with that economic advantage, the more it plays into Luzon's hands. But the Monkey Lord is on the move now, heading right. So he's clearly going straight for the sniper. I wonder if he detects that he's behind in the eco game. Generally, you have to expect, no matter what level you are, that you are going to be behind in the eco game against Luzon, even if you have this much more map control on a map of this size. Salem's going pop in the middle. Still, Zock having great success at sea, thanks to this humongous naval production facility up here. Tannis shipyards in full flow. Monkey Lord still on its way, so he must be going. Can you see an actual move command? Bringing anything up at the moment for that, but I am assuming he's going straight for the commander kill. And of course, that means he's skirting around the Omni. It's not going to get noticed at all. Omni encompassing this range here inside this red ring. And he's literally got a direct route right the way towards this island. Luzon's going to have to be very quick on the ball to recognize that peripheral weapon the Monkey Lord has, which will immediately start firing when it comes on shore, going after the mass extractor, perhaps the ion reactors. He's going to have to find the quickest route to get his commander into the water, because there's literally nothing in the sea that I can see that's going to come across that. Meanwhile, that second bug is in the air. Whole lot of ASFs in for Luzon, so a massive advantage there in the sky. Soul Ripper heading out. This is really interesting because Luzon could do some real damage with this now. And that formidable navy we've been seeing from Zock, I can only assume that I missed that there, got taken down or harassed by a combination of Luzon's naval units and that Soul Ripper. There's 4 kills on it for the moment. Still, that Monkey Lord progresses towards that island. Still, Luzon's commander is in the middle. And now up here at the top left, Soul Ripper going to work on this top island. Run this at 0 so as not to miss anything. In fact, definitely don't want to miss anything. Going to keep an eye on these 2 experimentals, because this will be probably the game decided right here. Soul Ripper up to 18 kills, and there's the Land Factory T3 HQ. That's definitely a priority target the Luzon wants to take down. So could do with finishing off that power gen as well. Monkey Lord still en route. Luzon's commander still not moving, so no discovery as yet. Land Factory T3 HQ is going to drop. T2 power gen might survive. No, Luzon's coming in for another pass. Down it goes, but the Monkey Lord makes it on land. Luzon will now be aware. He started work on a strategic missile defense. It's taken up all his power, and that's really bad timing because the shields are blinking on and off. Monkey Lord still making its progression. Soul Ripper en route to the main island, but unless Luzon can get into the water, it's going to be all over. Luzon exclaims in chat he can't believe it, and it's a good old-fashioned Monkey Lord rush that wins the game at minute 43 for Zock. Very, very fun to see, and look at what that Soul Ripper was going to do. It was probably going to grab a whole bunch of veterancy, so he could have kept it alive. Still had half his HP, 32 kills on him already, and had Luzon managed to get away and into the water, well, it's tough. It's a tough call. Has he got anything in the area that could have killed it? Because of course the Monkey Lord can follow him and still do damage underwater, but it might have bought him some time if he could have escaped that microwave laser. If he'd have spotted it earlier and headed out towards the middle, he could have got into range of this harms. But that Soul Ripper, I mean, if he had survived, that surely would have been the end of the game. That was pretty decimated, that forward island, and that was basically all Zock had. This is his manufacturing base. It wouldn't have mattered that this would have gone down. It would have bought Luzon enough time had he escaped. He still had all of his manufacturing base in here pretty much. His navy would have remained intact. What a game. What a game. More of those, please, guys. And always, in the future, of course, more to come from me. In the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.